So today we're going to look at chapter 6, which is your production process. This chapter is obviously related to this week's SAP module production. So the again, when I am reviewing these slides, I will only focus on the slides that are very important, have the key concepts. This is chapter 6, production process, from your textbook, which is related to the SAP module in production. So the learning objectives, as you can see, the master data associated with the production process, identifying the key steps, how does SAP ERP enable this production process, and what is the meaningful information that you can get out of the production process. So production can be of different types, discrete versus repetitive versus process oriented. This is process manufacturing. The basic production process consists of first you have to request for production, create a plan order, convert that plan order into a production order. Then related to the production order, you have to issue the raw materials that are needed. And then of course, once you have the raw materials, you create the product, and then you receive the finished goods. The organizational data levels in the production process or production module is the client, then you have the company code, plant, and storage location. Master data consists of bill of materials, basically lists of raw materials that you need for the production. The work center at which the production will be, the different sections of the production line or assembly, if you will. Product routing, it also includes the material master and the resource tools that are needed for production. So these are all your master data. Bill of materials, basically the components you're required to make the material. Bill of materials can have different levels. So you have at the top you have the finished good BOM, and if you drill down, then you have the BOMs that are linked to the semi-finished goods and the raw materials that are associated with the semi-finished goods. Bill of materials for touring bikes, the example that is cited in your textbook, this is the touring bike. These are the bill of materials. Again, these are multi-level. Bill of materials for off-road bikes. The BOM, the bill of materials structure, it has in the SAP environment, you have a header which lists the material, the plant that the material is coming from, what's the usage quantity, what's the validity of this order, and the status and the items, basically listing the components. The work center, where the actual work takes place. So the work center also includes data with respect to the capacity of the work center, scheduling as in when the work center is being scheduled for that specific activity, what is the cost incurred at the work center, and who are the people assigned to that work center. So this is all the data that is related to the work center. This is specifically the GBI company that the textbook is referring to, the production facility. This is the picture of the work center, the shop floor, and the storage area. These are the various work centers that are shown. Routing. So routing, basically there are steps or tasks or activities that are required to produce a material. Also part of the master data, they have what operations are going to be assigned to that step or task, what is the sequence of that task with respect to other tasks, what work center will that task be performed, what are the times, that are required. So if you think about routing and work centers, this is a good slide to understand that this is the information related to both routing and the work center. So this is the work center INSP 1000. Routing details are given. All the information related to both routing and work centers are included. Specific example, routing for the touring wheel assembly. Routing for the Deluxe bike. Production capability is in the production process. You have to understand what is the capacity for your production line, that is measure of how many units of material a plant can produce within a specific time. And this is a typical example of the production capacity that's given to you for a specific company, which is GBI, which this textbook refers to. The material master, which is also a component of the master data, has all this information, includes all the information. And then the last master data information, the resource tools, needs to have this information. Production process, like I said, it begins with request for production, creating a plan order, converting the plan order to production order, release of that production order. Once the production is completed, it is becomes part of the finished goods. The warehouse that receives it issues a goods receipt. There are changes in the financial accounting documents, the controlling or management accounting documents, materials documents. Obviously, when you're using materials from your inventory, your materials management inventory system is updated. Like I said, request for production begins with a planned order. And this is basically showing the steps. So the data in the plan order comes from master data. Also, at what level of the organization, and the inputs from the user. The authorization of the production order happens when the plan order is converted to a production order. And these are the steps that are shown. And this is the data that is coming from various sources for the production order. As you can see, the master data is also feeding data into the production order, so is the org level data, user input, and more importantly, the plan order data. This is the typical structure of a production order and SAP. For example, if you look at that, you have to estimate what cost you need to plan for the cost, and then obviously compute the actual cost. The settlement rule, okay, so there's a production taking place. Who is going to account for the expenses for this production order? What business area is going to account for this production order? So just an example of how to calculate planned direct costs. So materials cost for the off-road bike is estimated to be 14,500 total. Labor 625, so the total planned cost comes to 15,125. So once the production order is created, order release status is generated. These are the steps in the order release status, in the order release process. The order release could be automatic or manual. Mostly in SAP facilitated production orders, it is automatic. So once your production order has been released, that is, raw materials have been assigned, you have to post a goods issue saying that the production floor has to issue a goods issue. It is technically called movement type 261. This is the various documents that are impacted. For example, inventory is updated. So you're using up raw material from your warehouse, your inventory has to update because you have to account for the raw materials that are going to be utilized in the production order. The different sources of data that are feeding into the goods issue. Again, the goods issue is that's when you issue the raw material for the production order. So obviously the data is fed off from the production order, org level data, master data, material master, obviously since it's related to what materials you're going to be using. Financial impact, obviously you accounted for material cost of 14,500 that was planned, and now but the actual is actually a little over the 14,500. And again, when you talk about settlement costs, somebody has to account for this material. Some business area within the organization has to account for these costs. So that's what we talk about, settlement rules. That's what it is. So once the order has been released and it is completed, confirmations have to be executed or done. These are the steps in the confirmation process, the production order confirmation process. The data that is part of the confirmation includes the production order itself and the user input. Financial impact of confirmation, meaning obviously since the order has now been completed or executed, labor, we now know exactly how much labor costs, so now we account for that. So remember that how we had estimated the labor cost. I'm just going back to show you that slide. Our labor costs were 625 and the planned total of material and labor was 15,125, but in actuality it is over the plan. The actual is 15,633. You are reviewing the production order that was completed. Now once the production order is completed, that the materials or the goods that are produced are going into somewhere, that entity has to issue a goods receipt saying that yes, we have received finished goods. That's movement type 101 in your SAP environment. The impact, obviously finance and controlling documents are updated. Material master data is updated, the quantity and the value of your inventory, and there's also the production order status is updated. And you can see that the elements or the components of the goods receipt. So if you compare, it's a good idea to compare the elements of goods receipt with the goods issue. Okay. So this goods receipt consists of master data, org level data, and user input. Notice how it doesn't have the production order. The goods issue had the production order. So again, compare the goods issue with the goods receipt. Financial impact, of course, somebody has to account for the costs. See here, talking about the settlement, somebody has to settle these costs. And now then, once all this is completed, you have to do all the calculations, do the settlements, and determine if there's still anything ongoing as a part of the production. You do the calculations, the costs associated with the production order, if there's anything work in progress, and then settle the difference between the planned and the actual cost, which is sometimes known as variance. Only the planned costs are posted in the goods receipt. Variance is settled in this step also. Financial impact, there was a variance in the material. There was a variance of $487 of the difference between planned and actual. In labor, there was a difference between planned and actual of $20. So the variance is obviously part of the settlement, as the previous slide said. So if you look at the settlement, the variance is accounted for as a part of the settlement. Then comes the reporting part, where you use SAP tools to report the data related to the production process. And this is production information systems. Basically store all the data or the information related to the production process. Like I said, this is a part of your week 5 SAP production module, so please make sure you go over these slides. Thank you.